G'day guys, how are you going? So, as I'm sure you've seen, the 50TP Prototyp has been released and so many people are thinking, well, this is going to be the next Defender. As some YouTubers have put, the Defender 2.0, and I'm here to completely debunk that. Let me just say that while this tank is definitely strong, it is no Defender. So let's just clear that up straight away. Now, this isn't going to be a full review of the tank because the EU community contributors were given access to the tank before any other region's community contributors were, for reasons I don't know, but I'm presuming wargaming bias. So there's no point in me reviewing the tank because it's just going to be much the same, and yeah, what's the point? So instead, here's a few reasons why the 50TP Prototyp is not a new Defender and how to destroy it when you see it on the battlefield. So let's just jump straight in and have a look at its armor. Frontally, this thing is definitely strong. Its upper frontal plate is pike nose, just like the Defender, and it has pretty crazy values. But, and this is a very big important but, it has a huge lower frontal plate that does not have very good armor values. In fact, the huge lower frontal plate can be penetrated by any tank with about 185 millimeters of penetration and above, which really at tier 8 is easy. At tier 7, it's probably going to require premium rounds. In tier 6 as well, they can still forget about it, right? In comparison, the Defender's lower frontal plate has around 210 millimeters of effective armor. So really the weak spot on the Defender is completely different to the actual weak spot on the 50TP Prototyp. So that means if you do see the 50TP Prototyp and you have over 185 millimeters of penetration, simply shoot the lower frontal plate because you will go through it. It is huge and it is a big weak spot, which the Defender does not have. Now let's say that the 50TP Prototyp is hull down and using its 8 degrees of frontal gun depression to take out every enemy in front of it. And if you think it's 10 degrees of gun depression, it's not. It's 8 degrees at the front, 10 degrees at the side, and even worse at the back of the tank. But anyway, let's go back to saying it's hull down. You could shoot the cupola on top of the tank, which admittedly is quite hard to hit. Or if you have a tank with a gun caliber of over 120 millimeters, which is quite a lot of tanks, then you simply need to aim for the turret roof because it is only 40 millimeters thick, and that means any gun caliber above 120 millimeters will simply go through the top by overmatching. It doesn't matter what the angle is. So really, if you want to destroy this tank and the front of the tank and you can't see the lower frontal plate and you have a big gun, well, simply shoot its roof because it will go straight through. And this is another weak spot that the Defender does not have. While the Defender does have 2 cupolas on top of the tank, it does not have an overmatchable roof. So really, while the 50TP does have a strong turret, the turret roof really is a massive letdown, similar to the IS-6 with its 30 millimeters of turret roof. Now let's say that the lower frontal plate of the tank is covered and you can't shoot the top of the tank because you don't feel comfortable enough shooting the cupola and you don't have a gun big enough to go through the roof. Well, there's another weak spot. If this is the case for you, then simply shoot the driver's position, which you can see very clearly, because although it is strong, it is another weak spot. And if the tank is over angling, then it is a super duper easy penetration through that driver's position. Again, the Defender has no such weak spots on the front of it. So really the 50TP Prototyp has quite a weak front. Not weak, okay, that's gonna get absolutely wrecked in the comments below. It doesn't have a weak front, but at least it has weak spots to exploit if you know where to shoot on the tank. Now, before you all go into the comments section saying, I have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm again not saying that this tank is weak because it is by no means weak. I'm simply saying it is not as overpowered as the Defender and it is not a Defender 2.0. But it is definitely strong. Now the sides of this thing, they are strong. Even if this tank is over angling at the front, the sides still have a pretty good shot of not being penetrated, and this is because the sides of the tank are 90 millimeters thick in raw thickness of armor, and there's also 30 millimeters of 2 layers of spaced armor on the side. So really, if you see this tank and it is over angling, try not to shoot the sides, because I can almost guarantee that the shells will get lost within the spaced armor. I especially recommend do not fire heat at the sides of this tank, because most of the side of the hull is made up of spaced armor, track armor, as you can see here. So really not a great idea. If you can, just make sure you are shooting at the turret on the side, but definitely don't shoot the side of the tank if you are firing heat rounds. But it's not as strong as the Defender, and the reason it's not as strong as the Defender is because the Defender has its crazy Russian space armor on the side, which means that if you shoot, doesn't matter if you're a Jag Tiger, a Jag Panzer E100 even, with premium shell, if you fire into that Russian bio-spaced armor, you are not penetrating the side of the Defender, and this is not a crazy, stupid, thankfully, era of design that the 50TP prototype has. And this side of the turret armor is nowhere near as strong as the Defender's side turret armor, which isn't even that strong to begin with. So really, if you do see the 50TP prototype and it's showing its side, the side of its turret, definitely shoot the side of its turret. It's really quite weak, with about 130 to 140 millimeters of penetration, which is quite awful. So yes, armor-wise, this thing is no Defender, and hopefully you can see this, and hopefully you're not now gonna go into the comment section and try and destroy me. So yes, armor-wise, this thing is no Defender, and now you know how to take out the 50TP prototype if it does come at you in the battlefield. Gun-wise, yeah, this thing does have a great gun. I will definitely be the first to say that this gun is very arguably overpowered. The penetration is 218 millimeters, which, although isn't as good as the Defender's 225 millimeters of penetration, the gun handling stats are substantially better than the Defender's. And also the DPM of the 50TP prototype is better than the Defender by about 100 damage points. So in this way, the tank is better than the Defender, especially when you add in the extra gun depression of about 8 to 10 degrees that you get on the 50TP prototype over the 6 degrees on the Defender. Also, while the acceleration is only a little bit better on the 50TP, the top speed of 35 kilometers isn't really all that amazing, and it's not going to make this tank go bombing it around the battlefield, although it isn't a slow tank either. And the 50TP definitely has the traverse advantage over the Defender, with turret traverse of 28 degrees per second versus the 24 degrees per second on the Defender, and a crazy 38 degrees of track traverse over the 30 degrees of the Defender. So this tank is definitely a mobile tank and not something you'll be able to out-circle in your light tank. But really, it wasn't the mobility which made the Defender so good. It was its armor. Its gun definitely helped, don't get me wrong. The 440 damage points of alpha is huge at tier 8. When you and I think about the Defender, or at least myself, I can speak for myself here, I definitely don't think about, you know, its mobility. I would think mostly about its armor and being such a pain in the bum to try and penetrate with just pretty much any gun you have on your tank. But the 50TP prototype, it's different. It has quite a few weak spots on the front of the tank, and the sides and the rear of the tank. The sides are good, but the rear, the side of the turret, and the 3 giant weak spots on the front of the 50TP prototype means that this tank is not going to be so scary, especially in close quarters combat, where you're going to be able to aim even better at its weak spots. Again, the 50TP prototype is a strong tank, and I'm definitely going to buy one myself because I think it'll be pretty fun to play, but it isn't a Defender. But hopefully you've learned a bit about the 50TP prototype from this video. As I said, this wasn't going to be a full-on review because there's no point, especially when there's a bit of a Wargaming EU bias. But hopefully this video has given you some insight, and the tank shouldn't be as scary as it might have seemed from all the hype and videos out there. But anyway, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, of course, leave a thumbs up, comment down below. I really want to interact with you guys as well. Subscribe if you're new. I'd love to see you around. And I'll catch you next time.